Okay, here's our video on the distributive property and factoring. Okay, so let's look at an example. Here we have a number 5, and in parentheses we have a 2 plus 3. So we already know that you could add 2 plus 3 and you get a 5. We also know, if you remember, that anytime there's a number next to parentheses like this, it's multiplication. And we can see that 5 times 5 is 25. What we can also do, though, is distribute. So in distributing, all we're doing is multiplying the 5 by each number in the parentheses. Right? So here we can do 5 times 3, and we get 15. And then we can do 5 times 2, and we get 10. And we get the same answer, because 15 plus 10 is 25. So here we could have just added 3 plus 2 and then times it by 5, or we could have distributed it, like we did. So here's another example. Here we have 3 plus 2 plus 6 in parentheses. So what we can do here is we can add 3 plus 2 plus 6 if we wanted to, and then times it by 4, or we can distribute. And we'll distribute the 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 6 is 24. And then we just add those up and we get 44 as our answer. Now keep in mind when you distribute, look at the operation signs. The operation signs are always attached to the number. If you don't see an operation sign like right here, well, it's positive. Anytime you don't see a sign, we are assuming it's positive. Okay, let's try this one now. Again, be careful with the operation signs. See if you can do this one. Okay, well, we have a 2, and in parentheses we have a negative 2 plus 6. So, when we distribute 2 times negative 2 now, keep that in mind, you know that a positive number times a negative number is a negative number, so this will be negative 4. And then we can distribute the 2 and the positive 6. Plus 6 is positive. And then we'll get plus 12. So that'll be our answer, negative 4 plus 12. And of course we can combine them. We can combine like terms. Okay, and if we combine like terms, negative 4 plus 12 is 8. So in 6th grade, we're going to see a lot of variables when we distribute. And remember when we did like terms, in the parentheses here, d plus c minus 5, we can't combine any of those. So we would just have to distribute. So what we did here, again, we're going to distribute negative 4 times d, and negative 4 times d is negative 4d. Negative 4 times plus c, and we're going to get a negative 4c. Now you can do plus negative 4c, but you can also have done negative 4d minus 4c. And then we'll distribute the negative 4 with the negative 5. Just remember though, there's a operation sign is always connected to that number. So it's a negative 4 times a negative 5. And remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. And you get positive 20. Here's another example. Here we have 4d. We have 4d on the outside of the parentheses. So that whole thing has to be distributed. 4d times negative 2 is negative 8d. And 4d times g is negative 4dg. So here's some rules we should do before we go on. So again, if you had an x plus an x, well, you have two x's, so that would be 2x. But an x times an x will be x squared. We'll do more of them. For example, here, if I had a x plus a d, well, we can't combine unlike terms. But in multiplication, if I had an x times a d, well, it's just xd. See if you can do this one. Okay, well, we have a negative 5 times g. What do we get? negative 5g. A negative 5 times a negative e. Remember, negative and negative is positive, so it becomes positive 5e. And a negative 5 times a negative g, again, negative times a negative is a positive, so it'll be plus 5g. That would be our answer. So that's the distributive property. Now factoring, our other topic, factoring is just the reverse of the distributive property. We're going to undo what we did. So let's look at an example. Here's an example. So when we did 3 with a plus 4, when we distributed this, we distributed the 3, we got 3a plus 12. When we factor, you'll just see this. We want to, when we factor, get back the original question. So what we have to do is we have to find a common factor. That's why it's called factoring. The common factor here is 3. That's what we're going to use. Okay, so here we have 3a plus 12. Let's say I gave you this question, 3a plus 12. We want to find the common factor, which is 3. And then we want to ask ourselves, how am I going to get 3a if I just have 3? Well, I need an a. 3 times a is 3a. And then how am I going to get a 12 with a 3? Well, 3 times 4 is 12. So this is the distributive property, and this is if we want to factor to get the distributive property. Let's get another example. How would you factor this? We need a common factor. Well, 4 is the common factor. If I take 4 and then make parentheses, we want to try to get a way we can distribute this and get that same answer. Well, 4 times what is 4b? That's what we're trying to get first. We need to get 4b. 4 times what is 4b? Well, 4 times b is 4b, so we have a b. Now we need a negative 16. 4 times what is negative 16? That's what you have to ask yourself. Negative 4. 4 times negative 4 is 16. And see, if we distribute this to check, 4 times b is 4b, and 4 times negative 4, 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. 4b minus 16. Okay, let's do one more. See if you can do this one on your own. How would you factor this? What is the common denominator? Well, it's 5. So we can take 5 and then make our parentheses. And we ask ourselves, 5 times what is 5? Well, 1, right? 5 times 1 is 5. So we'll have a 1 there. And how are we going to get 20m? 5 times what is 20m? Well, 5 times 4 is 20, so we know we need a 4. But again, we just need that m there. So our answer will be 5, and in parentheses, 1 plus 4m. Okay, that's our video on the distributive property and factoring. That's part 1. We'll do another video on that also. Good job.